Awesome. So yeah, so this is how to boost your immune system with nutrition. I felt honestly just prompted to reach out to Alicia and Melanie and see if they would be up for me sharing a few things with you guys, because this has just weighed really heavily on my mind lately. This idea that I know that we have a lot of power over our bodies and our immune system, and we all need strong immune systems right now, now more than ever with this pandemic going on. And it's brought me a lot of peace of mind knowing that I know what to do to arm myself and my family. And this idea, this scripture, this quick idea has been just like playing over and over in my mind. And I think of several things with this. I think of food storage. I mean, it wasn't long ago that when this pandemic hit, that we couldn't go to the grocery store and get everything that we needed. And that was a huge wake up call for me. But now I'm also like looking at sending my kids back to school, and a lot of things are opening up again. And I just kept thinking, okay, if I just prepare my family in every way that I know how, then I should be able to feel that fear go away, right? So I'm hoping that's what this will do for you guys, that it will put your minds at ease and help you feel empowered on some level, that we can prepare our bodies and our immune systems for the circumstances that we're living in right now. So my goal today is to help you understand the connection between our food and our immune systems. And I want you to walk away with really 5 clear things that you could focus on to boost your immune system. And I put this little picture of the little girl because it's not only our immune systems we're talking about. Most of us have kids at home, and we're thinking about their immune systems too, especially if we're sending them back to school. So just a little bit about my background. Melanie mentioned that I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I'm a plant-based nutrition educator. Basically, that means I know how to help people improve their nutrition and other healthy lifestyle habits. And I know how to help them do that in a personalized way, because there's not a one-size-fits-all. Not everyone is ready to do everything right now. So I love partnering with people and helping them do it kind of a step at a time to make it more sustainable and more joyful. You'll see this logo, this plant-based nutrition certificate program that I did from the Center for Nutrition Studies. Some of the images that I'll be sharing at the end are from their website, and that's a school that I attended for one of those certifications. So I kind of want to start with our story. Our story back in the fall of 2016, it was the heat of cold and flu season. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole of food documentaries on Netflix. And one in particular really got my attention, and it was because it was talking about the immune system, and it was talking about what most Americans eat, which has this cute little name that a lot of people have given it as the standard American diet, which as it actually stands for, it spells sad. And that was the first time that I really realized maybe the normal way of eating isn't the best for our health, and maybe we could do better. So I started performing some experiments on my family. So this was just our experience that before I started tweaking some things nutritionally with no adjustments, we would get sick multiple times, and it would spread throughout the whole family, right, during cold and flu season. And then it would last 7 to 10 days or more. And then I knew that was my norm. So that was kind of my control, right, of everything that we had experienced in the years prior. But after I learned a few things and made a few tweaks, my experiment was basically whenever my kids would start showing symptoms, they'd come home with a runny nose or they would start coughing, I would say, okay, looks like we're fighting something. Here's the game plan. And this is what we did. We would take a break from dairy. We took a break from sugary treats, and we added a daily green smoothie. We snacked on fruits and vegetables, and we added more vegetables at dinner. that was my experiment. And I was amazed at what happened. It was crazy how quickly we got better and how it didn't spread throughout the whole family anymore. And it was so empowering as a mom, because I know you guys know how much of a pain it is when your kids get sick again and again and again. And it's just like you can't win. And so finally, I felt like I had a say in this whole thing. It was really, really exciting. So if you look at those numbers, that's a 50% increase in our immune function. So this really got my attention. And I started sharing this with my husband. He had no idea that I had been doing this, by the way. But the kids knew that if they came home with a runny nose, mom was going to say, okay, these are the 5 things we're going to be doing. So I started sharing this with my husband, and turns out that he had actually been fighting a sinus infection for 3 months. And, you know, I mentioned, I said, you know, I've been doing this thing with the kids, and it's been really amazing to see their bodies able to overcome these infections that they've had. I wonder if you tried this, if it would help. Well, he had tried several rounds of medications, antibiotics, all the things, and it had not done a thing to help him. So he decided to try my experiment. And it took all of 7 days for that sinus infection to go away. So now that really had our attention. And we got to the point that we really just couldn't deny any longer that there was a very strong connection between what we were eating and how our bodies were performing. So this is a thing called the power plate, this little logo here. Basically, you could just eat plants, and that's what our family decided to do. I would add a 5th food group to this of nuts and seeds, but fruits, legumes, vegetables, and grains. We dove into this head first and learned that we can actually get all of the nutrition we need, protein and calcium and vitamin D and everything from the plant kingdom, and have these amazing immune systems. So I just want to share a little bit of that with you all today. No one has to go as far as we did. Even if you just walked away with 1 or 2 things that you're going to start implementing with yourself and with your family, you will see benefits, and that will be fantastic. So what is this connection between food and our immune systems? Basically, our immune systems run optimally when we have these things in our regular routine with what we eat. Our immune system is looking for antioxidants, for vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And the fact of the matter is that most Americans don't get enough of any of these. I saw a statistic a couple of years ago that said only 6% of Americans reach the recommended daily amount of fiber. And it's scary. And then when you think of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, nutrition is such a complex science, and it's actually one that even nutritionists and scientists don't fully understand. Our systems are so incredibly complex and beautiful. Heavenly Father knew how to put us together and how to put us on a planet that is bountifully provided for in the form of these plant foods. And these antioxidants, these vitamins, these minerals, these are the things that feed our cells. They protect our cells. And when we starve our cells of these things, our cells can't do their job of taking care of us. So it's really exciting and empowering to realize that we can do more to support our own health just by adjusting some food choices. In addition to food, I do want to take a second and say that moderate regular exercise boosts our immune system. Water intake, making sure that we are getting 64 ounces of water a day. If you don't have water bottles that your kids are drinking on all throughout the day, I would highly recommend making sure that they are staying hydrated, because that's actually our first level of defense, is actually the mucus that we have in our nose and eyes and ears and in our mouth, and that protects us from invaders. And if we are dehydrated, that barrier is compromised. Adequate sleep. Anytime we have less than about 8 hours of sleep as adults, it's much more for children. Anytime we don't get enough sleep, we are actually putting our body in a stressed state, which will shut down our immune system as well. So those are some other things. Even though we're focused on nutrition today, I do want to give some lip service to those really powerful factors as well. So I want to dive into just 5 really simple things we can do. We're going to talk about some different types of foods and what type of protection and strength that gives to our immune system by just adjusting our food choices. These ideas and the images you'll see are taken from an article on nutritionstudies.org, and the citation is right there. And I'm going to share a handout with you guys that has links to that article and many others that if you want to dive into this more, there is so much good information out there to look into. So we've got 5 things to take a look at. Number 1 is really simple. It's eat your greens. And I say it's simple, but some of you might be looking at this and saying, I don't really love any of those foods. Greens are kind of tricky. They're often very bitter, but if you can learn to add some of those heartier greens like kale and Swiss chard and collard greens to some soups, that's a really great way to include those in our diets. And just finding different ways to put together salads that you enjoy with that arugula or romaine spinach, you know, those sorts of things. And green smoothies, these are all easy ways that we could start getting these in. I think greens are probably the most underrated food on the planet because these guys are mighty. They pack a punch when it comes to vitamins and minerals. Many of these give us all of the vitamin C that we need. It gives us the calcium that we need, and they are so rich in antioxidants. Antioxidants, by the way, big fancy word. I think a lot of us don't actually know what it means. It basically means that it protects our cells from oxidizing and from damage, from other inflammatory substances that come into our body. So it's a protective agent, and we all definitely need that. These are also high in fiber. And by the way, fiber is only found in the plant kingdom. So again, 6% of Americans are reaching their daily recommended amount of fiber, mainly because we all need to be eating a lot more plants and a lot less meat, eggs, fish, chicken, dairy. We have a very skewed diet here in America, and we could do well to just start adding some more of these plant foods and crowding out some of that extra animal products so that we can have the fiber that we need. So let's go on to number 2. This is all about looking for the colorful foods. There are a few special foods too, like raw cacao and mushrooms that are particularly high in antioxidants. But mainly when we're wanting more protective antioxidants in our diet, we just want to look for the most colorful fruits and berries and vegetables that we can. You've probably heard before this idea of eating the rainbow. This really is one of the most powerful things we could do to boost our immune systems and protect our cells and our bodies. So my favorite way to have berries is in smoothies, but I'll also put some on my oatmeal in the mornings. I do keep raw cacao on hand. Use that in small doses. It is a minor diuretic, so you have to be careful with that. But it is powerful in its nutrition. So sometimes I'll make banana ice cream, and I'll add some raw cacao to basically turn it into like a chocolate frosty. So that's really fun. And then, of course, tomatoes and beets, including that in your sauces and dishes like that. And we use mushrooms a lot. I would say we have mushrooms at least once a week, and I love putting it in a stir fry. So I'm going to try to give you some ideas of how to incorporate these foods, because it's one thing to like see that these are good for you, and it's another to ask yourself, like, okay, when would I actually use that? Do I have any recipes in my repertoire that I would even use that food, or is that just going to come home from the grocery store and rot in my refrigerator? We don't want that. We want to give you some ways that this is practical and doable for you. So number 3 is an interesting one. There is a lot of confusion around what constitutes a healthy fat. Most of us have been led to believe that oils are really healthy, especially certain types of oils, but oils are actually a very highly processed food. You take a whole olive and you're stripping away all of its parts except for the fat content. So you're actually creating something that's highly refined and highly processed. And anytime we do that, we're actually creating a food that's extremely inflammatory to our body. And so oils and the high fat content that we get in meat of all kinds and dairy is actually very compromising to our immune systems. But I'm always a fan of teaching people what they can add and not getting too caught up in what we need to minimize. So these are healthy fats. Anytime you are looking at something from the plant kingdom and something in its whole natural state, that is a healthy fat. Some other healthy fats that aren't shown here is avocado. That's a higher fat content plant food. When it's in its whole form, it's very, very healthy, very good for us. Healthy fats help absorb vitamins that we're consuming from all those vegetables and greens that we're eating. And it's very rich in minerals and omega-3s. I know omega-3s have had a lot of publicity and press lately, and we can definitely find that in flaxseed, chia seed, and walnuts. Omega-3s are extremely good for our metabolism as well as our immune system. I love snacking on a handful of, pumpkin seeds or walnuts during the day. I love adding pretty much any of these to my smoothies. And flaxseed or chia seed you can grind because our body can't break down the hulls of those seeds. So if you grind those and then sprinkle it on your oatmeal or your cereal in the mornings, that can be like a whole food supplement that you can make sure that you get every day and can be really supportive. Okay, so number 4 is just eating foods that are high in fiber. Remember, only 6% of us are actually getting the amount of fiber that we need. Fiber is in all plant foods, all of those food groups we talked about: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. But particularly, I want to focus on beans. If Americans would all just add a serving of beans to their diet, we would see significant drops. And there's studies that I have read that support this idea. We would see drops in diabetes, we would see drops in heart disease, and we would just be healthier. So these are all great ways to get more fiber in our diet. Have some oatmeal for breakfast, have some hummus on a sandwich or a wrap for lunch. Start including some more of these things in some stir fries or some pastas at dinner. So eat high fiber foods. These 6 examples that's not where it stops. It's the entire plant kingdom. All of those foods will increase your fiber. All right, last one, number 5. This is a tricky one for people because we're not used to using a lot of these things. Turmeric, ginger, cayenne pepper, these are very obscure. But if we could just start adding them to our cooking, looking for opportunities to use these more, this can be really supportive to immune function. You can see I kind of photoshopped this a little bit for that hibiscus tea. I know here we underneath that is a picture of green tea, which has scientifically been shown to be very supportive to health. But of course, with our religious understanding, we stay away from caffeine. But herbal teas, make sure you're not getting green tea, but most herbal teas are completely free of caffeine and completely harmless, and they can be quite medicinal. And hibiscus tea in particular is extremely high in antioxidants. So creating some rituals around that can be really great. Having a morning or an evening herbal tea could be fantastic. I will often put together what's called a golden milk. I'll get some soy milk and some turmeric powder and some cinnamon, and I will warm up a mug of milk and then add those spices. I'll put a little bit of vanilla, and that's actually a really delicious warm thing that I love to have in the winter time. And I'm getting 2 of these spices that are extremely powerful anti-inflammatories. So those are just some ideas of how to include some more spices and some herbal teas in your life. So I hope that makes sense. One more bonus tip is, again, back to this idea that it doesn't stop with nutrition. Of course, the more whole food, less processed food we go, the more plant-based and less animal products that we go, we're going to see improvements in our health. But it's also really important to pay attention to these other things like sleeping, getting enough water, getting out in the sun, and managing our stress. And I know that that is all easier said than done. But as we kind of keep these things on our radar, we'll know what our next steps are. And as we're continually making those tweaks and making some improvements, I have seen in my own life and I've seen in my coaching clients' lives that it really does make a difference for them. So that's the long and short of it. That's what I have for you today. And I just kind of want to end with this thought that it's really by small and simple things that great things are brought to pass. And I love that principle. And it's taught by, everything in nature teaches us that this is true. An acorn doesn't grow into an oak tree overnight. It needs a consistent supply of that nutrients from the earth, the sunshine, the water. And if it's well taken care of each and every day, it can grow into a massive oak tree. Our health is the exact same. If we can find small and simple things to do consistently over the long term, it's amazing what's possible for our bodies to respond to the way that God really designed it to function in the first place. So this is something that I love sharing. I hope that this has resonated with you. And I'll just switch over to a question and answer portion here. I'm going to, let's see, just make a couple changes here. Just need to stop our recording.